they never put anything on the table but capital offense,
Right.
murder. So it was either going to be life without or the death penalty.
Right. Okay. I'm really interested because I pay attention to a lot of true crime stuff, and I see all the time that murderers will do anything to avoid the death penalty. They'll take that plea bargain just to get death penalty off the table.
Right.
Was that an option for you at the time?
Well, I had a couple of crafty attorneys, and they were state-appointed attorneys, so they kind of laid the law down. You're young. This DA is really seeking this death sentence. You know, he's pushing to be governor one day, and lo and behold, the guy becomes governor. But anyway, it's like he said, you're either gonna accept the rest of your life in prison, or this state is gonna try and execute you. And he goes, executing you, they may not do.
I'm great, thank you.
It's very expensive, James, and this is a tourism type of town, and they don't want to be known for executing a teenager or a youngster, you know.
Wow.
So he goes, I'm gonna fight like hell, but it's on the table, life without. And my mom, by her doing time before, even though I know my son did this, but no, not life without in prison. So we'll take our chances in trial.
Got it.
And that's how I ended up in trial. And I went in front of a senior citizen jury.
Okay,
you know,
I'll bring you right
looking
up
like
this time, okay?
all of these old people are my peers. You know, and it was, it was so dramatic in the courtroom. Shouting, crying, the victim's family over here, and you got their side of it, and I'm understanding that, then you got my side of the family, and I mean, my mom was a soldier. She walked around that county jail at night. After she'd come and visit me, she would literally walk around the county jail and get people to walk with her to free James Allen. They're going to give my son a death sentence. Yeah.
So when you went to trial, were you, did you plead not guilty and you were trying to get acquitted?
Well, I'll tell you what, I was interrogated for like 16, almost 17 hours by two detectives because they really wanted my co-defendant. He was the bigger fish.
The older guy.
Even though I'm facing charges of murder, but they wanted him. They've been looking for this. This guy's a seasonal vet. He's a career criminal. He's stung for big money in this town, and so we all kind of looked up to this guy as being the OG of the neighborhood. So they interrogated me like 16 hours, and they're constantly telling me, "You're gonna get the death penalty, man. You better. We know this guy's your co-defendant. We know and I wouldn't give him up. I wouldn't give them a name.
Code of the streets, huh?
But I tell you what, they got my mom on the phone. Yes, the code of the streets. Oh, you don't tell. Snitches get snitches. But so they called my mom, and she's on the phone, and it's like a conference call, and she goes, "Well, I'll tell you what. I know my son is guilty, but he's not guilty as the guy you guys are looking for." See, mom is trying to sway it. She's really trying to get this. She knows what's ahead of me. And so I make a confession. Yeah, I was there. I orchestrated the whole plot. I chose the house.
You shot the gun?
Yeah. I did the fatal shot. Yeah, everything. And the detectives go, they wasn't happy with that. They wanted the co-defendant. May he rest in peace. He's dead now. I even talked about him in the book. But what an experience, man. And I tell you what, after all that I've been through, I understand the death penalty. Was it for guys like me, a young kid, ambition out the roof?
Who is it for then?
It's for the guy that gives up, that look at you, me, and everyone and say, I don't care about you. I don't care if you die today, and I don't care if it's by these hands. That's who it's for.
Okay.
I mean, where do you put those type of people that think like that? I mean, is there such a thing as verse-on-one psychology where you can really go in and a person's belief, you can change their belief in humanity?
Now, I'm not doubting or suggesting that there are not people who just should never be allowed into society ever again. And I also recognize that there's a problem with life in prison not meaning life in prison. I mean, here we're talking to the guy who was on death row, got his sentence commuted to life, and is now walking the streets.
Well, you know what, Steve-O? I think I'm the ultimate guinea pig. I was a test. You know, I literally grew up in prison.
Evidently.
I mean,
so at the trial, you pled not guilty after they had this confession, 16 hours. So the trial probably didn't last too long. Not too much deliberating
maybe
going
5
on.
hours.
5 hours of a trial or 5 hours of deliberation?
The whole thing. I mean, it was. Hey, listen. The jail was ready to erupt because I was in jail for over a year. So and I'm
before the
trial.
conviction.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
And so you're meeting all types of people. You're young, and
they had you in adult jail waiting for trial.
Oh yes, they had me down where it was like 8 of us in a secured area, and we were all facing the death penalty. Some of these guys, one guy his name was Billy Hansen, and he was considered a serial killer. Real nice guy though, and he was the only guy who had a guitar that I ever seen with a hollow guitar in jail. But they catered to this guy, and he had a real charming personality.
Okay.
Did he get the death penalty? No.
The serial killer did not get the death penalty.
Joe Koza, another one. He killed the taxi driver and the passenger. Did he get the death penalty? No. These guys, I was the only one, Tony. I can just name guys whose trial was lined up right after mine, and I was the only one to get the death penalty.
Well, maybe those other guys took the plea to get the death penalty off the table. Maybe they didn't do the trial.
It was a trial. That's what
Okay.
A couple of them got overflowed to another courtroom, but it was just kind of different that I received the death sentence, and I was the youngest one because a couple of these guys were career criminals.
I wonder if your not snitching had anything to do with that.
I went for hard, and I didn't, I had some OGs to get to me early. They say, don't get all tatted up, don't get a sleeve. They don't need, it's going to be hard, dude. So one day, you may have a chance of going home. They gave you life without. You may go home one day. Laws are changing, So I kept myself kind of clean cut, and I went through, but back to that question with the guys on death row that deserve it. When your neighbor is a dude that just killed a girl, a 12-year-old girl, slit her throat, discapitated her body and just burned parts of her, put her in a shallow grave. And, this is my neighbor. So it was hard for me to come out during a rec period on death row and not try to kill this guy.
What's a rec? Oh, during a rec period. Okay, got
recreation period.
Right.
And there was ways back in the day. Death row wasn't very secure like it is up in Ely, Nevada. Whoops.
Wow,
they
to
let
talk to
me
the
into
people.
the chamber. No, I went back on death. This prison is closed, and the Art Society and the Nevada Prison Society are getting ready to do a tour. So they invited me